What's the future of television? I'm Sean Carruthers, and I'll give you a sneak peek today on The Lab.
Good to see you and welcome. It's time for The Lab. I'm Leo Laporte. This is The Lab right here. You're in it. And this is my lab assistant. Where's your... I told you lab coats.
Honestly, I would wear one.
Would you?
I would indeed.
Well, I wouldn't want you to wear one.
Under these lights, it would be so hot by now.
This is Kate Abraham, everybody. Good to see you. Good to see you. Episode 175.
Whoa.
We're just trucking along. And I think in at least 90 of those 175, Ray Maxwell has been here. He's our favorite guest. We love Ray. He's going to talk about using something called smart objects, a little Photoshop tutorial. He's very good at the Photoshop. Loves the Photoshop.
He does.
Yes. You've got a tip of the day coming up. We've got a quiz question of the day.
Yes.
We've got Ryan Ewell's Jewels and Sean Carruthers, as he said, the future of TVs. Wow. You mean there's more than this?
Exactly. Those huge, huge screens.
Do you have a high-def TV yet?
I don't know.
I just read a poll. It's a little out of date now, but it said that 52% of all American men plan to find a high-def television set to watch the Super Bowl. 52%.
I can believe that.
Oh.
Honestly, if it was here and it's the hockey, it would be 85%.
Yeah, the Grey Cup, the NHL.
Yeah,
I mean,
Stanley Cup, yeah.
Stanley Cup. Of course you would, because you want to see it in all the detail. I think the figures, and I may be wrong, I think it's about 30% of all Americans have a high-def television set.
Okay.
The problem is there's so little high-def content, but there's more all the time.
It's coming, though.
It's
These channels
more
are
and
coming.
More and more. Now that the HD, DVD, and Blu-ray battle is over, and we can declare a winner, Blu-ray, I think that'll help it a little bit,
Go out
too.
and replace all our DVD collections.
Isn't that sad, huh?
Yes, it is.
Actually, your old DVDs will work on the Blu-ray.
Yeah.
If you've got a PS3 or a Blu-ray player, they work on that. It's the HD DVDs you're going to have to trade in now. Oh! Sean's not happy about that.
He's not happy.
Oh! We've got some great callers coming up. Let's get our first on the line.
Fantastic.
What do you say?
We are going to a place called Burpengary in Queensland.
All right.
And we have Jake.
Well, hello, Jake. How are you?
Hello, Leo.
Thank you, Kate. What can I do for you today?
I've got an old laptop.
Yeah.
That the hard drive's starting to get old.
Yeah.
I do backupping very regularly.
Good man.
And I'd like to find if there's a free good way to offline backup on the internet.
I love hearing you ask this, Jake. Jake, you're such a smart guy. I wish more people would ask this. You know, we all make one hopes we all make backups, usually to CD, DVD, or an external hard drive. And we've got our computer right here and our backups right there. But Jake, you're pointing out a really important thing. If the backups are standing right next to the computer, what if there's a fire, a flood, an earthquake, a tornado? What if it all gets stolen? Your backups are gone too. So,
yeah.
Like that. Just disappeared completely. So if you have offline backup, or actually online backup, I guess off-site would be the best way to put that. If you have off-site backup, then you always have like an extra layer of protection. If the worst happens to your computer and your backup, at least there's some out there in the cloud. So there are a number of companies that do this kind of thing. I've mentioned in the past Mozy, MOZY.com. They offer unlimited backup for about $50 a year. This is Mac or Windows. Carbonite does the same thing, Carbonite.com. I think they were the first to do this idea of unlimited backup, where you can back up everything you've got on your hard drive. I use Carbonite. I have 30 or 40 gigs worth of stuff backed up. But the problem is, it's $50 a year, okay? So we're going to find you, and Jake, you don't have unlimited supply of money, right? You've got to do this yourself. So let's find some free backup for you. I'll start with small and get large. Most of the time, the free backup, the whole idea of it is, come on in, try the free stuff. You'll fill it up pretty quickly. Now maybe you want to buy some more. So this is, I think, one of the first companies to in the Web 2.0 space anyway to do this. This is Box.net. I like them an awful lot.
What is it?
Box.net. I like their interface. I think they do a really good job. However, the free version, you only get 1 gigabyte. Well, that's not very much. Yes, Jake's skeptical. And there's other things. There's like a 10 megabyte file size limit, 10 gigabytes a month limit. So it is nice because you can share it with friends. You can share it publicly. They have this great little widget. Let's see. Can we do better? Let's try iDrive.com, IDRIVE.com. Now, iDrive, similar to BoxNet, offers a free version. And their free version offers you 2 gigabytes of backup space. So we've doubled it. 2's still not a lot. How much do you think you have that you'd like to back up?
Well, I only have an 80 gig internal hard drive.
Now remember, you don't want to back up Windows. You don't want to back up programs. You only want to back up stuff you don't have other copies of, like your most important stuff. How about this one? This is xDrive. I mentioned iDrive. This is xDrive.com. Oh, now we're getting a little bit. 5 gigabytes free. 5 gigabytes free. That's pretty good, right? xDrive is owned by America Online. One of the reasons I like that is it means they'll be around. You're looking for somebody that's going to stick around for a little while. Microsoft is getting into this. They offer something called SkyDrive. I think it's skydrive.live.com. And unfortunately, this is only 1 gigabyte now, although I hear rumors that Microsoft may up this. And this has some advantages. If you're using Windows, it automatically works with Windows very easily. So this is a good choice. All right, you ready? Here's my winner, though. The one that offers the most free storage, maybe not the easiest to use, Google Mail. What? What you say? Google Mail? But think about it. How much? Let's see. I get 6 gigabytes now of storage right now on Google Mail, and it's always going up. You see that? They show you at the bottom. It's always going up. You see, I use it as a database backup. See, I mail my WordPress, the database, to it all the time, and I use it as storage. So you could always email stuff to yourself. I'm actually using this for backup on my website. And I have a little program that'll do that automatically. So that's what all those paper clips are. These are backups, daily backups of my website. And even though I've been doing this for months, I still am only using 7% of my total storage. And the truth is, because Google's always adding to the size of storage they offer for free, I think you probably never fill it up. So that's another way to do it. Now, you'd have to email these things to yourself. And that's the problem with all online stuff, is it's slow to upload, right? And there probably are limits on how big that file can be. But I think that's another good one. So probably my 2 winners are AOL's xDrive, because that gives you 5 gigabytes, and Google Mail, because that gives you 6 gigabytes, but Google Mail's not as easy to use. Okay?
Yeah, with the xDrive.
Yeah?
Does it have like an software that goes onto your computer, and then you just tell it what you want, and it automatically backs it up when you access the internet?
Oh, that's a good question.
Because I want some easiness because my sister's got a laptop.
Right.
I want to back that up because she's not that tech savvy.
Very good idea. Yes, and that's what Mozy and Carbonite do. And yes, xDrive does that as well. They have software for Windows only, but Windows XP and Vista, and it's automatic backup. So yes. Good. And xDrive, again, because they're owned by AOL, I always worry when a company gives away something for free. There were a lot of companies that did this in the old days of the internet, and they all went out of business. So I like the idea that they have a business model, and I like it that AOL's behind them. I would say probably xDrive would be the choice. Okay?
Good.
Hey, thanks so much, Jake.
Thank you.
You are a smart kid. You told the world the most important thing about backup. If the backup isn't off-site, it's not a backup. All right, we're going to take a break. Come back in just a bit. Ray Maxwell, our teacher. He's like everybody's favorite teacher. He is here. He's going to show us some great Photoshop tips, something called Smart Objects. I've never heard of this. I've used Photoshop for years. I've never heard of it. We'll find out what it is when the lab continues. Ray Maxwell coming up. Welcome back to the lab. Leo Laporte here. Ray Maxwell is here. I was just telling Ray how much I've learned from him. He's an electronics engineer, a color scientist, a speaker, a glider pilot, a photographer, and a great teacher in all of those areas. And he's also a Photoshop wizard. Many years with Photoshop. And what is this? You want to tell us about Smart Objects? I've never even heard of that. What is that?
It's one of the most powerful things that Photoshop can do. I'm going to start out in Bridge.
Okay.
And
this Bridge is kind of the photo browser that comes with Photoshop CS2.
And by the way, everything I'm showing you at this point can be done in Lightroom up to a point.
Okay.
And then you have got to do it in Photoshop.
Okay.
So I'm going to open this from Bridge into Adobe Camera Raw. All right. Okay. And I've already
a plug-in. How does that show up on Photoshop?
Okay, it comes with Photoshop and Bridge, and in the preferences of the two programs, you can choose to open files in Adobe Camera Raw from either Bridge or Photoshop.
So I should look in the preferences and turn that on so that when I open files in Bridge or open files in Lightroom, it'll open in Camera Raw. Okay. You like Camera Raw? I
like to open in Bridge and run Camera Raw from the Bridge.
Okay.
And then when I say open object in this case now, to make it into a smart object, we go down here to the very bottom of the screen, and we click on this, and you'll see in the dialog here, and I'll just bring this up, you'll see that it says open in Photoshop as a smart object.
So this whole picture will be opened that way?
That's right.
Okay.
So we're gonna open it as a smart object. So we'll say OK for that, and we'll say Open Object. Now we're moving the raw file into Photoshop.
Okay.
It's going to open it in Photoshop as a smart object.
Okay. Now, how is that different than just opening it as an image?
Okay, here's the thing. You'll notice, I'm going to just go in here and enlarge again. You'll notice over here in the layers, we have this funny little icon.
Yeah, I've never seen that before.
If that's because it's a smart object. Notice it doesn't say background, which is where it usually opens up.
Right.
So first of all, this is not a background layer, it's a layer, and it's a smart object.
Okay.
If I click on this icon here, it tells me it's a smart object, and it takes me back to Adobe Camera Raw, and I can readjust.
Without leaving Photoshop?
Without leaving Photoshop. Okay?
That's something you'd often want to do because the tools in Camera Raw or Bridge or Lightroom are really designed to make modifications to the whole print very simply and easily.
Now here is the real magic. I can do that after I've done 5, 6, 10 other adjustments to the file.
And you still can go back?
I can still go back.
Oh.
Now, let me warn you about one thing when you start using smart objects.
Okay.
Have lots of memory in your computer.
Because you're saving all these previous versions and you have to save all the adjustments and still work with it.
Exactly.
Wow.
So now
by the way, that's a gorgeous stuff. That is a beautiful image.
So let me go in here, and I'm going to do some fun things here. I'm going to go in, and the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go in and I'm going to duplicate this layer.
Okay.
And I'm going to call this my blur layer. And we'll show you why in just a moment. And I'm going to click OK on that.
It's a smart object too. That's interesting.
Yes.
All the new layers you create will be automatically smart objects?
Yes, because the first layer that I copied was a smart object. This is a smart object. And notice again the funny little icon.
Yeah.
All right. Now, I'm going to go up here to the filters, and I'm going to go into blur, and I'm going to go to Gaussian blur. Okay? Click that. And now I can set a blur level.
Okay.
And now I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to show you one of my carefully guarded secrets. So don't tell
anybody. This is just between you and me,
between
Ray.
you and I.
Okay. Close your eyes, everybody.
That's right. I'm going to go up here to the opacity layer, and remember I'm selected the blur layer, and I'm going to say darken. Look at the effect.
That's a neat effect.
Okay.
Oh, now that's both layers together with the darken.
That's looking through the blur layer with darken.
Wow, that's a really nice effect.
Isn't that
it almost looks like a painting.
Yeah. It gives you a bit of an artsy base.
Yeah, I like that.
Now I'm going to select the main layer that's still sharp. All right. And we're going to have to zoom back out so I can see the menus. And I'm going to go in, and I'm going to apply an artistic filter to that called watercolor.
So you have a Gaussian blur on the top layer.
Right.
And it's darkened.
Right.
And now on the bottom layer, you're going to apply the watercolor filter.
Right. I'm going to apply the watercolor filter, which does a thing like this.
Beautiful again.
All right.
It's really neat.
So now then, I can adjust the levels and things on that, but I'm going to say OK. And now it's combining those two.
Wow, is that beautiful?
Okay.
Wow.
Now, I'm going to zoom in here a little bit. what is magic about smart objects is, remember the Gaussian blur I did?
Yeah.
Now normally you do that Gaussian blur, you move on to the next layer, you do something.
Right.
You can't go back.
No, you can't make adjustments to the blurred layer, yeah.
I'm going to double click on Gaussian layer.
Smart.
I can go back to the Gaussian blur, and now I'm going to turn it down and look at the effect. I'm going to turn it up. Okay? I'm still can play with
even
that
after
effect
you did the darken.
after I've got all the things sandwiched together.
Wow.
I can even
And that's
now,
because that's a smart object.
right. I can even go back to that base layer, all right, click it again in that little corner, and I'm back in Adobe Camera Raw, where if I wanted to change the color temperature of the picture, I can say OK, and it'll go back and preparing smart object, and it'll refilter, redo everything, and bring that into the entire sandwich.
Boy, I could see how you'd spend hours playing with this. Yeah. It's really, really neat. What effect! What a great effect.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you'd almost always want to use smart objects if you could.
As long as you have the memory, because now you can go back and tweak the first thing you did and see what the overall effect is.
Right.
It's just a wonderful tool. Now, on top of that, let me show you one other little feature. That Gaussian blur, I can click over here on these little controls, and you know, I set it to darken. I can change it, but I can also apply the opacity.
So how much it will affect
the
underlying layer.
The layer, and I can do that after the fact.
Oh, that's amazing. Smart objects, it is a secret weapon. It is probably one of the most useful tips. We've got a link in the show notes to RussellBrown.com where he's got a lot more about this. Russell Brown's kind of the king of this kind of stuff.
Site.
He knows his stuff. And so does Ray. You can go to his website, MaxwellMultimedia.com, to see his work and his art and all of that stuff. And of course, Ray joins us regularly on the show. Thank you so much. That's cool. I cannot wait to get home and try that. I had no idea that was there.
There you go.
Right, now, let's see. This is unretouched, a close-up photo of something you might see around the lab. What could that be? What could that be? I don't know. I'll tell you what. Sean Carruthers took it. He'll explain what it is when we zoom out and find out as the lab continues. You stay right here. Welcome back to the lab. There it is, a close-up picture of a grill of some kind. I don't know what that is. Let's zoom out. Oh, it's a jawbone. I should have known that was a jawbone. Sean says, by the way, he's made a liar of me. He does, in fact, retouch these photos. In this case, he retouches them to remove the dust, because it's easier. When something's that small, it gets more dust. As you zoom in like that, you see a lot of dust.
Yes.
So you just do a little heel.
Way easier to remove it that way.
easier to use Photoshop than to actually dust. That's what I've learned. Yes. Thank you, Sean. Great picture. Love that. And by the way, a great Bluetooth headset, too. Those are really cool. Those work really well. Hey, let's get another caller. Kate Abraham. I see somebody.
This is Corey from Winnipeg in Manitoba.
Corey's doing the
funky little
MySpace angles there. Hey, Corey.
Hey, Leo.
Is that your MySpace picture there?
Yeah, that's right.
I'm just teasing
all that
you.
hair's gone now.
What can I... Actually, yeah, you know, January 30th was Delete My MySpace Day. I don't know. I think a lot of people deleted their MySpace at that point. That was a Facebook group, naturally. What can I do? What can I do for you, Corey?
I'm having a problem with my PowerBook G4.
Okay.
I've got it now to turn on. Before I couldn't when I emailed you. Mm-hmm. But now, whenever I open Firefox or Safari, it starts making a clicking sound, and it sounds like it's coming within the computer itself.
But only the browsers? Nothing else does it? It doesn't do it any other time?
Well, sometimes it works when I go into the browser. It doesn't do it any other time. And then if I have the browser running, if I try to download something, it starts the clicking sound as well.
So that's interesting. So if you never opened Firefox or Safari, you wouldn't hear this sound?
Not unless I was downloading something.
So so what it sounds like is there is some interference coming from... Are you using a modem or the Ethernet jack for the...
Ethernet.
Ethernet. Sounds like, and this is weird, I've never heard of this happening before, but it sounds like you're getting some interference, some noise coming out of the Ethernet jack. And it's either getting into the speakers directly, which can happen, or it's getting into the sound chip. I think more likely getting into the speakers directly. Does it sound like static?
Like my entire computer freezes up and I can't do anything with it.
Oh, okay. So we have another symptom.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, well, this could be a number of things. Sometimes when a program crashes, it spews bits in effect, and those bits sometimes can get into the area where the sound card uses temporary storage. So and the sound card then plays that data back as if it's sound, which would sound like it would sound like crackling and noise. So it sounds like now. I didn't know you were going to getting a crash. So you'll open Firefox or Safari. You'll hear some crackling, and then it will crash. Does it crash every time?
It almost sounds like you're dropping like a marble onto a hard surface.
Yeah. It's not regular though. It's kind of random ticks, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And does a crash always follow?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something is crashing, and the sound is a side effect of the crashing. You wouldn't think a computer crash would make a crashing sound, but in fact, I've heard this happen. Again, it's spewing data into a sound buffer. Almost certainly it is because it happens in both Safari and Firefox. It's not the browser software. It's lower level than that. It's almost certainly the networking software. So my strong suggestion would be to try reinstalling OS X. You know, if you've got the original install disk that came with that computer, or you want to put Leopard on it, or a new version of OS X.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting a MacBook Air, because this thing's pretty old.
Yeah, it could just be old, but I think that reinstalling OS X would fix it.
Okay.
I think it sounds to me, my guess, I mean, as you know, I'm totally guessing. I can't reach out into the TV and diagnose it. I'm not that good yet. I'm working on it. I mean, it could be a hardware problem, but I think it's much more likely a crashing driver, and that sound you're hearing is the sound of the driver crashing. Since it always makes that sound and crashes, right? It never makes a sound without crashing.
No, it always crashes.
Yeah, they go together. Yeah, I'm almost certain it is. The first thing I would do is reinstall OS X. I bet you that'll fix it.
Okay.
Okay. You want an excuse to buy a new computer?
Yeah, I wanted to.
That thing is shot. It's forget it. It's history. It'll never work again. You should throw it out the window. It's over. It's history. That thing is so old, Corey. Why would you even want to try to get it working?
That's what I wanted to
I'm
hear.
sorry. I wasn't thinking. You gave me the hint when you said MacBook Air. Yeah, I mean, I think you could fix it, but it is, let's face it, it is slow. I'll tell you what, a MacBook Air would be much faster. It's probably time to move to Intel anyway. I decided I didn't want a MacBook Air because I'm afraid I'm going to snap it over my knee at some point. It's so thin, so I ended up just.
I used the computer in school and everything.
Yeah, I saved a couple $100. I got just a plain old MacBook. It's faster than the Air. It's got a DVD drive in it, which I like. It's a little thicker and heavier. Big deal. I actually like it better than the Air. But if you want an Air, go for it. Go for it, Corey. Yeah, no, that computer, it's history. It'll never work again.
All right, thanks.
Thanks for the call, Corey. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Usually I'm pretty sensitive to that, but I can kind of tell the person doesn't really want it fixed. They just want permission to get a new one. I missed that one. Should have paid more attention. More of your calls coming up in just a little bit. Sean Carruthers, too, with the future televisions. A television in your future. Let's take the quiz question right now. When were the Webby Awards first given to honor websites? I mean, how old is this thing? Is it 95, 97, 99, or the year 2000? I don't know. Tell you what. Think about it. We'll tell you a little later on as the lab continues.
Hello, welcome back to the Lab with Leo. I'm Kate Abraham, and my tip of the day is for all you budding cooks out there. Now, if you love using stuff in the kitchen, you love cooking new creations, but you're not quite sure of the different ingredients to include, Ruby.com is the website for you. It's a gorgeous website, and what you do is once you log in, you have a 30-day free trial where you can then select which categories of food you want to cook. So, for instance, I'm into breakfasts. Now, if I want to know how to cook this lovely-looking omelette-style thing here, what you do is you click through, and as you can see, it's a simple, easy, interactive video. It's a beautiful site, very simple, very easy, but incredibly technical, and it basically talks you through everything. And the great thing is, as well, is it has all the menus, it has the recipes, you can even leave comments. And they're Vancouver-based.
I love the name.
Yeah, so what it is, it's Ruby, which is Rouxbe.
And that's kind of a test. If you're a cook, you'll know how to spell
exactly,
that. But if you're not a cook,
you'll end
say,
up somewhere completely different.
What?
And the thing is that with the subscriptions, one thing I wanted to say is that you have a 30-day free trial, which is great. And then after the 30 days, you have two options. You either do a lifelong membership, which is $200, or $100 for the year, or you can be sponsored by an advertiser on the site. Get free access, but you'll get small little pop-ups every so often.
Do that.
But they're not intrusive, apparently.
I would do that.
Or use your 30-day trial and go crazy.
Learn everything.
Look at everything and then don't worry about it.
First thing learn is how to make a roux.
A roux.
R-O-U-X, roux.
A roux.
You know what a roux is?
It's like kind of like a Swiss roll thing, isn't it?
No.
Is that not a roux?
It's you melt the butter, you mix in a little flour. It's the base for many, many cream sauces.
I think of a roulade, don't I?
I don't know what you're thinking of.
Who knows?
Who knows? Budding Cooks. That's a small town in Dorset, right? Budding Cooks? Budding Cooks on the river? I don't know. I might be wrong. Who's our next caller?
Okay, we are going to Dalesford, Victoria, and we have Neil.
All right. Hello, Neil.
Hi, Leo. How are you?
I'm wonderful. Thank you so much for calling.
It's a pleasure.
What can I do for you, sir?
Leo, we are hoping to move to the United States from Australia this year, and we're wondering what to do with our computers, which all run on 240 volts.
That's a very good question, Neil. Why are you coming to the U.S.?
Work. I'm hoping to get a job.
In the tech industry?
No, not in the tech industry. I'm a priest.
Oh, interesting. Well, we have some churches in the U.S., I believe.
Yeah, one or two.
Well, we will welcome you with open arms, Neil. And here's the good news. Most computer stuff is made to operate at either 110 or 220.
Excellent.
Usually now on a desktop, you should look on the back. There's usually a switch on the power supply, and you could just switch it. On laptops, and in fact on many technology stuff, can you throw me that power brick here? If you look on the thing to look at is on the power brick right here, and it'll tell you what voltage it can handle. And this is very, very common. In fact, right on this one it says input 110 to 240 V. So it will handle this, and then it also says 40 to 63 hertz. I don't think generally you have to worry about that. 60 hertz is kind of the default in the U.S., and I suspect it's the same in Australia. But the voltage does differ, of course, around the world. Most of these power supplies can handle either. So your laptop will be fine. Your desktop, check. See if it's got a power supply that can switch to 110 on the back of it. Now, if it can't, here actually we have one with a switch on it right here. This is really common. Sean's going to show you. You can just use a little screwdriver if you can zoom in there and get a shot of that.
Yeah, so there's a switch generally right underneath here, and you can just flip it over.
One or the other. Most power supplies will do that.
So
Worst case scenario, if you didn't have a switch, you could get a new power supply. They're not very expensive. They're pretty easy to put in. I know you know this, but I'm just going to say this, that, of course, the plug prongs will differ. That's the North American plug prong, and it, of course, is different than the Australian plug prong. You will have to get an adapter for that, but make sure that if you're going to use, that you get an adapter, that the thing you're plugging in also supports the lower voltage. It's not such a big deal coming here because it just won't work very well. But going to Australia, of course, I'd fry anything that I used. So get the adapter. If you don't have a device that says it can handle 110, then you'll need to get a transformer to step down the voltage from 240 to 110. But almost everything will. It's things like hair dryers don't. It's appliances, but most electronics, and it'll always say we'll support the lower voltage. You shouldn't have too much trouble, Neil.
Thank you.
That's great. So, do you have to apply to the diocese? I mean, how do you get a job as a priest?
In the States, mostly you apply to parishes directly.
Oh, interesting.
And sometimes to dioceses.
Oh, interesting. Well, good luck. Do you know where you'll be? Do you have any idea where you'll end up?
Hopefully somewhere on the eastern states.
Okay. Stay where it's warm, though. My advice to you. It could get cold up in New England. Hey, it's great to talk to you, Neil. All the best on your travels. Good luck on your repositioning, and I think you'll be fine with your electronics, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. More of your calls. I love talking to our viewers all over the world. I think it's so cool. More of your calls. Let's talk to more of you right after this. Stay right here. Oh, hi. You snuck up on me. Welcome back to the... oh, we're on. Welcome back to the lab. Kate Abraham, who can we help next?
Our last call is Matt from Brisbane in Queensland.
We've had some Australians this time. That's great. Hello, Matt. How are you?
Hi, Leo. How are you? Not too bad.
I'm wonderful. Couldn't be better. How's the weather right now in Brisbane?
Pardon, sorry?
How's the weather right now in Brisbane?
Oh, very wet.
Hey, at least it's not cold. It's freezing here. We've got slush on the ground.
Oh, not good at all.
I'm not complaining. What can I do for you, Matt?
Oh, I'm having a bit of a phone problem. Sorry, Leo.
How can I help you?
Oh, okay, that time I heard you.
There you go. Yeah.
I guess I've got a bit of a habit from using XP and everything for quite a few years. I only just switched back to Mac about the start of 07.
Okay.
Would you happen to know any way of aligning your icons to the left without unsnapping them from the grid and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah. For some reason, and this is always a Windows callers who ask this, you know, on Windows, of course, the icons by default will kind of go on the left. And on the Mac, probably just to be different, icons go on the right.
Yeah, I read something about they did what do you call it, a survey or something that said most users are right-handed, so they put them on the right or something.
Well, I'm a lefty. Excuse me. I should be able to put them anywhere I want, right? Apple's not notorious for being amenable to that kind of logic, and unfortunately, they generally don't provide a lot of different customization features. This is the most you can do. Here's the Finder in the Macintosh, and I've gone to View Options. I'm showing the View Options, and you've already looked at this. You can have the icon grid spacing. You know, you can see different spacing and so forth. You can say where the label is. You can say how big the text is, and then basically you can arrange it. There's two different kinds of arrangement. There's Snap to Grid, which means you position them. Now, Snap to Grid will work for what you want, but you have to do it manually. So if we can get a full screen here, I'm going to select Snap to Grid, and then I can drag these over, and they'll be nicely lined up. You see how it's jumping over to a grid? Let's put it a little down below here, and it'll stay on the left.
That though is if you put say an external drive in or something like that, it
still pops up on the right. That's frustrating. Yeah, and you see the other choice is to sort. You can have no arrangement, or you can sort alphabetically by name, by date modified, date created, size, kind, or label. I usually have sort by name, but watch what happens. Boom, they all go to the right, and that's just the way it is. You know. I don't know. There may be, I suppose somebody could write a third-party application that would reposition them, but it would be always fighting with the operating system. Apple has not provided a way to do this. I guess my suggestion would be to use the grid. Here's a question, and I don't know what the answer is. If you move these things over, snap to grid, while they're mounted and then unmount them, do they go back to the old position, or do they show back up on the right?
If I was to eject the external or take a DVD out, it would come back on the right.
Comes back. It just snaps back to the right. So it doesn't remember where you put it last time. See, that would be, and that's the kind of thing Apple should do, and generally does do. They usually are thinking about this kind of thing. I think, you know, they've just decided, they're not always logical. For instance, the default position for the dock is on the bottom. In fact, the new dock in Leopard really doesn't look as good if it's on any other side. But the problem is, you have, you know, the bottom, you don't have as much space top to bottom as you do left to right. So I like to have the dock over on the left. And you can position it on the left, but you lose all that cool, you know, graphical stuff. They really want it to be on the bottom, which to me isn't logical. I mean, I think because you have so much more room left to right than you do top to bottom. But anyway, that's, you know, I could go on and on. Apple is not notorious. I think that if you had to pick one thing, and a lot of switchers complain about this, one big difference between the Macintosh philosophy and the Windows philosophy, it's that Windows is customizable in almost every respect. You know, almost far too customizable. There are, you know, hidden tweaks buried deep where you would never find them. Apple's kind of the opposite. In fact, in the earliest days, Apple was really kind of dogmatic about this. You do it this way. And there is a rationale for that. It's not just because they're, you know, control freaks. The rationale is that the way human brain works is down pathways. If everything's kind of always the same way, the human brain can learn it faster, remember it faster. When you have all these different ways of doing things, it's confusing. So it's just a different philosophy. Windows says, hey, it's a personal computer, you should get to do it any way you want. Macintosh says, yes, but it's easier for users if you just do it one way. If the icons are always on the right, users will learn it faster, they'll be more comfortable with it. And I'm afraid you're coming up against that dogma, unfortunately. Matt, I don't have an answer. I'm a lefty. I'd like them on the left. That's exactly where I'd like them to be. I have no idea. I don't think there's any way you can permanently force that, though.
Just, if I've still got time, I don't know how long you've got left with me. You got any time left? Or?
Yeah, sure.
Just quickly, would you know, because like I was saying earlier, my MacBook Pro arrived yesterday, and they run very, very hot. It comes up about, 60, 65 degrees Celsius.
Yeah, that's fine.
Do you know of any tweak or something like that which allows you to change the default setting instead of I think it's a minimum of, 2,000 it runs out at the moment?
Yeah, you can absolutely. A couple of things you can do. First of all, it's normal for it to run that hot. That's why it's an aluminum case. 65 is not abnormal for these Core 2 Duos. They run that hot in every system. It's just normal. There's a couple of things you can do. You can go into the power savings and have it operate at a lower, at more, if you change it to better battery life, even when it's plugged in, it will use speed step, it will slow down, it won't be as fast a computer, but it will be a cooler computer. The other thing you could do, which I recommend, is get a laptop desk. Now this is one with built-in fans that you plug in via the USB port. This drops at about 10 degrees centigrade. This makes a huge difference. So this is the best way to do it. If you're using any laptop nowadays, any laptop with a Core 2 Duo, putting it on something that will raise it up and give it some clearance so their air can go under it will help a lot. And these just make it even better because these fans, you plug these into the USB port and they blow, and that really does keep it a lot cooler. You're going to get better life. It's going to be more reliable. You're going to have fewer problems if you keep it cool. The Intel Core 2s are designed to run at 65. But you're right. I mean, it'd be better to run them a little bit cooler. Okay?
Well, I guess that's why they changed it from laptop to notebook, isn't it?
Yeah. You don't keep that on your laptop, do you? Unless you don't want to have any more children. Okay, Neil. Thank you so much for the call. I appreciate it. Do I have time for Ryan? It's time for, excuse me, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cough on you. Would you like my cold? Time for our free file of the day!
And it's a website. It's called Joe's Goals.
Joe's Goals. Well, I see it says Yule's Jules Goals right now.
Well, because I'm using Joe's Goals to track Yule's Jules goals.
So the program's Joe's Goals, but it could be anybody's goals.
Yeah, it's anyone's goals. And so what you do is I've set up some goals here, and it's really simple, so find a free file. So every day if I find a free file, I can just click.
This would be good for my kids, like doing chores or doing homework.
There's also negative goals or vices. So you see, take the elevator. I'm trying to be more active. So that's actually got a little unhappy face here. And what it does is, see down at the bottom, the number is changing because it's adding and subtracting your goals. You can weight things. So maybe chasing a guess is worth 5. So if I click once on it, or it went from 18 to 23.
You get more points for doing that.
Exactly. And then you can start doing reports. Like we can do a little 30-day report here, and it will come up.
This is cool.
And it will show me the different numbers, and it's really simple. It's not robust, but it's free, so that's great.
I think it does what it needs to do and nothing more.
There you go. So you got the happy faces, you got the frowning faces. They all add up to each other. You can add your own goals. I didn't show how to do that, but it's one button press. You just go add goal. I can actually do it real quick here. Here we go. We'll add a goal. Let's go anything here. I don't know.
Smile more often.
There you go. Smile more. So we just go like that. Is it a positive or a negative? That's probably
that's a positive.
There you go.
Bet.
So we save it, and then in a second it's going to come up.
That's really
and
I think
Smile
that's a nice
more
idea.
Is down there. There you go.
Isn't that cool?
There you go.
How much is that?
That is same price as all my other jewels.
Which would be free.
Free.
And it's for Windows?
It's for anything that can browse.
Oh, because it's a website.
It's all web, so it's all online.
Joe's Goals.
Joe's Goals. Go to labwithleo.com. I'll show you where to go, and it's any browser. And it's online all the time.
175 fantastic jewels on that site. All thanks to Ryan Ewell. Thank you, Ryan.
You're welcome.
All right, Sean Carruthers coming up in just a bit. Are you excited about the future of TV?
Yes.
Get excited, because it's exciting. We'll find out more about what's coming in your future for TV. But first, the set's not what's on it, because we know you're going to be watching the lab. First, quiz question time. When were the Webbies first given out to honor websites? 95, 97, 99, or 2000? I don't know. Think about it. We'll give you the answer when the lab continues. Welcome back to the lab. Before the break, we asked you this fabulous question. What year were the Webby Awards first given honor? Well, now, I was at the 2001, I think 97. Oh, that was a good guess.
You are correct, sir.
I am correct, sir. I've actually was at one Webby Awards, the same one Amber MacArthur was a judge at. But I didn't know her at the time. We were like ships that passed in the night. Anyway, here he is, Sean Carruthers, ladies and gentlemen. He was recently at CES, the Consumer Electronics Show. It's the big trade show in Las Vegas. It's the show that companies come to announce new products, sometimes to show new products to dealers to see if they should keep making them. So that's why sometimes you'll see stuff at CES that never gets made. And sometimes it's just, you know, to wave the flag and say, hey, we're the best. You saw a lot of all of that, I'm sure.
You get a lot of booths, mostly the big company booths. So there's just like it's an actual catalog, basically. Every single thing that they make is in this booth somewhere.
Now, the CES has become more and more a TV trade show. I mean, this is the one where everybody wants to show off the latest and greatest. Tell us a little bit about what you saw at CES and TVs.
Well, for the longest time, we've been going in the direction of high definition.
Oh, yeah.
And we've been going in the way of flat panels. That's been a sort of constant movement over the last number of years, and that's still happening. But what's really happening now is bigger.
Yes.
Bigger.
They really got big this year.
Yeah, there's been a contest over the last number of years. It's been sort of creeping around the 100 mark, so 90, and then 100, and then 102.
Sharp last year had a 109-inch, which I remember, I think 105, 109, something like that.
Something like that,
I got for Regis and Kelly. It was big. It was huge. In fact, it took a special case in a special truck. Did they top that this year?
They did. Well,
who
Sharp didn't, but
who had the biggest TV?
The biggest TV this year was from Panasonic, and it was 150 inches. And that's 150 inches diagonally. We're taking a look at it on the show floor here.
Basically, two 6-foot-tall men stretching out their arms would go end to end on this. I mean, it's huge.
Right. It's like 4 times the size of the set that we have behind us here. Just to give you a comparison here.
Oh, my goodness.
Here's a woman standing beside the set, much taller than her. And just as another comparison here, we've got the 103-inch plasma that was the big one last year beside it.
Look at that.
So,
now, there is a drawback to this. It takes a 747 to transport it, and you can only transport one TV per 747. It's that big.
It costs a whole lot of money to do this, and you really have to rip the lid off your house to get it into the house.
There's no way. You can't put that through the door.
Yeah, I mean, if it ever has to go for servicing, you're hosed, basically.
Yeah, I don't know how you get serviced on it. So this is a specialty product. They probably don't even announce a price for something like this.
No, for this one, the 150-inch, definitely not at this point. Now, that said, the 103-inch, which was announced last year, or was it 2 years ago? It's finally shipping last year, and they've now sold something like 3,000 of these at $30,000 a crack.
Who's buying these?
Well, you know,
Shaquille O'Neal has 5.
Well, very
He's got
rich
one in his
people.
bathroom.
Definitely, and you know, it's for presentation. So if you've got a corporation, you could put in something like that where you've got an elevator the size of a truck.
Exactly. It's a good show-off thing.
Yeah, you're not going to get this in your house.
This is an example of the kind of the Barnum and Bailey side of CES, where they're showing something you can't get, you'll never be able to get, but at least, you know, it's cool.
It's theoretically possible, whether you're ever going to theoretically be able to afford it.
What else did you see?
Well, we've got Sony's OLED. This is not a great picture. This is sort of snapped in the field in a Sony booth.
It's never going to do it justice because the TVs we're watching it on will never be as good as the OLED TV.
Right. So this is this look at it. It's called the XEL1. It's 13 inches diagonally, $2,500, but it's got a 1,000,000 to 1 contrast ratio.
Wow.
It's insanely.
Now, did you see it in displaying?
I've seen it. And
how did it look? I mean,
it looks amazing. It's really hard to differentiate between this and a photograph in some cases, except for the fact that it's very bright
and it's moving. Yeah.
Right. So I mean,
but $2,500 for a 13-inch TV.
Yeah, it's got to come down. Right now, it's definitely more affordable to put OLED technology, and that's organic light emitting diode, into something smaller like your cell phone.
Right.
Now, one of the other manufacturers who shall remain nameless was sort of bad-mouthing OLED technology, saying that, well, you know, it's organic and the pigments in there
fade,
they die, and that was one of the big problems that's prevented it from really becoming well adopted. Is the blue dyes inside there. For sure, they had a shelf life of only a few thousand hours compared to the 10,000 of the red and blue. So your color would go out over the course of time.
They say they've gotten that slick, but we won't know for a few years. And then it'll be too late.
Whether they got it down or whether they got them equalized, they're still dying.
Right.
So eventually it'll fade out. So it's not like television.
So you're buying a small TV for $2,500, and it's going to, in a couple of years, it's going to look very good.
Potentially. Yeah. So it's to be determined. I'm not going to be investing in this anytime soon.
No. Did you have anything that you wanted to buy here?
Well, this right here is kind of nice. You can't see much there, but
look how thin that is.
Look at this. This is This is from Sharp. It's a 52-inch LCD. This is a prototype that they're showing off. I think it may be available in Japan at this point. Let's run that again so you can just see how thin that is.
Now, this wasn't the 9mm thick one.
No. Hitachi was showing off one that was 1.5 inches.
Wow.
This one is 1.3 inches.
Wow.
And they're showing off a plasma that's even thinner than that. You can see that it's really, really skinny when you go to the side there. Obviously, the benefits of something like this is about 20 kilograms for this. You can mount this on the wall now, 52 inches.
Light, yeah.
And it uses way less electricity.
Yeah, I think Pioneer had a prototype, a concept Kuro that was thinner than an iPhone, 9mm. Unbelievable what they could do. This is
definitely
unbelievable.
I think thinner is the new thing, not bigger, but thinner for the consumers.
Makes sense. Yeah, because then you can hang it on the wall, right?
Right. Ultra high definition is also something that's
What's ultra high definition?
Well, this right here is a Samsung prototype. I think it's 80 inches, and we're aiming at something that's, you know, really, really high resolution, about 4 times the resolution, in fact.
They call it 4K.
4K, right. Yeah. So if you remember, we've talked about the red camera. I mean, it's hard to tell on this screen.
You'd have to see it in person,
You'd have to see it in person, but the detail on something like this is something like 3,800 pixels by 2,100.
They say it's... now, this isn't 4K. This is 4K by 2K, right?
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah, they aren't yet full 4K, but that's coming. So you're all excited about your HDTV, which is 2K. Sorry, 4K is coming.
Yeah, it's
and as you said,
ending.
the red camera is a 4K camera. The movie studios have already agreed on this as a standard, so we're going to start seeing high-resolution images like this. What's this?
This right here is neat technology from Texas Instruments. Now, you see the car flipping back and forth here.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually on the same screen right now that we're shooting. We're just flipping a switch, and we're using DLP technology to switch between the two. And right now, you see we're taking these glasses off, and we're seeing both of these mashed together.
Oh, so you're not changing the TV, you're changing the glasses.
The TV. Right, so we're changing the polarization of the glasses.
What could possibly be the use of that?
2 people can play big screen gaming at the same time.
Oh, that's neat.
Or you can have 2 people watching the same back of the seat TV in the airplane at the same time watching their own channels.
Oh, my wife could watch the Academy Awards, I could watch the Super Bowl, we'd both be happy.
Exactly.
I like it.
There you go.
Sean Carruthers, he took a chance. He went to Las Vegas, braved the crowds, 145,000 geeks, 2.7 square thousand million feet.
Bajillion.
A bajillion.
Too much.
A bajillion. Anyway, thank you for doing that. Those are some pretty cool things. All right, we're going to wrap this up. A final word for you right after this. You stay right here. Have you ever been to CES? Have you ever gone to one of those trade shows?
I would love to go. I really would.
It is
once.
Once. Everybody should go once. It's a 3-ring circus. There literally are 145,000 people.
It's all in hotels, isn't it?
No, there's a big convention center, the Las Vegas Convention Center, and then but it's too big just for that.
So then it sprawls
So then
out.
it sprawls out into convention centers within hotels.
Right.
So it's spread out over much of Vegas. You can't get to anywhere because all the cabs are full. And yet, it is kind of, the candy store. I mean, it's amazing stuff. I stopped going about 3 years ago, though, because it was just, it was exhausting. It just killed. So we send Sean.
Yeah, exactly.
We let Sean
Off
go. It's fine. You have a good time. You come back and tell us if you saw anything. Anyway, we thank you so much for being here. We're kind of your proxies in the tech world. We'll show you what you need to know. And if you have a question, you go to the website.
Yeah, lapwithleo.com.
And that's it?
That's it. Lapwithleo.com.
We'll see you next time.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.